Hello there. Prime Minister Liz Truss threatens to pull out of Northern Ireland's protocol with the EU. But a visit to Derry in Northern Ireland shows that it works quite well for many. And German journalists researched the effects of Brexit at companies in Northern Ireland. Leah McDade, for example, his studio is in an enviable location. The brick factory building of the Rosemount factory stands high on a hill overlooking the whole of Derry. 100 years ago, when the town in the northwest corner of Northern Ireland was still booming, this was a shirt factory, and that's fitting. McDade is a designer and owner of a clothing label called A Mug. He also sells clothing from a partner company in Belgium that, like him, produces sustainably. All products are vegan and fair wear, says McDade, and shows them t shirts with his latest designs inspired by the rave movement 30 years ago. More bureaucracy when importing from mainland UK is an issue for him now. But for all his enthusiasm, McDade admits that the past few years have not been easy. Shortly after he founded his company in January 2020, the pandemic came. In the first 18 months, nothing worked at all. Then things finally started to get better. But at the beginning of this year, the next problem followed: Brexit. As a reminder, in order to prevent checks from taking place at the inner Irish border that could endanger the Northern Irish peace process, the British government and the EU agreed on the so-called Northern Ireland Protocol during the Brexit negotiations. This moves the customs border to the Irish Sea, and that means between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. Now, a number of Northern Irish companies have to complete additional paperwork when importing from mainland UK. For McDade, the shock came earlier this year. All his clothes are made in Brussels and then shipped to Derry. Suddenly, a customs duty of 12.5% was added to his products. But that shouldn't actually happen. According to the protocol, Northern Ireland is still linked to the EU internal market and the customs union, so there should be no customs tariffs for imports from the EU. The problem, however, is that some of his boxes are shipped to Derry via London, and if they are on a pallet next to a box destined for England, then tariffs are automatically charged on the whole pallet. He and his partner in Brussels tried to find some way around the problem, to no avail. The customs duties would have ruined his business. He couldn't have survived, he says. But he had a brilliant plan. His brother lives only 3 kilometers west of the Rosemount factory, but Ireland is already there, so it's EU territory. If he ships to Ireland, then the products will be shipped from Brussels via Dublin instead of the UK. That means no customs, no hassle with border forms, just a few extra car rides. And that's what he's been doing for months. He delivers everything to his brother over there, then he picks up the boxes there and drives them over to Northern Ireland. He just got over from there. It's a solution to a problem that shouldn't have arisen in the first place. But McDade shrugs it off. That's just initial difficulties, he says. He's convinced that once the minor blunders are mended, the new trade regime could work really well for companies like his. Dresses shipped from the EU are subject to duty in England, but not in Northern Ireland. The product he sells there are 12.5% more expensive in England. If he can find some customers there, he can sell his clothes correspondingly cheaper in England. So he's in a very strong position. He's convinced that the protocol is an opportunity. The British government sees things differently, though. They have begun railing against the provisions of the protocol since last year. And in the spring, Liz Truss, then Foreign Minister, now Prime Minister, introduced the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill, which is enacted to repeal important provisions of the treaty. Last month, during the prime ministerial campaign, she even said she wanted to pull the emergency brake and suspend the entire protocol, which she can't, and the people should read the whole agreement and not just one paragraph if they want to talk about this. Aside from practical problems, she justified the bills with the protocol has led to a growing sense that the aspirations of some sections of the population are being undermined, which is wrong, by the way. In doing so, she follows the arguments of the unionist politicians in Northern Ireland, because for them it's about more than paperwork for entrepreneurs. The protocol is basically driving a wedge between Northern Ireland and Great Britain, they say. So what is happening is exactly what the unionists have been trying to prevent for decades. Since Brexit, the unionist community has been haunted by the spectre of possible reunification with Ireland, and that's their biggest nightmare. The majority of companies get along very well with the protocol, though. Unionist frustration over the Brexit deal has fueled a deep sovereign crisis. Its largest party, the Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP, has been refusing to appoint ministers to government in Belfast for months. According to the principle of the separation of powers, which has been in force since 1998, no executive can come into being. The protocol jeopardizes our place in the UK, says DUP boss Geoffrey Donaldson. It's unacceptable to preach consensus politics and then foist a protocol on Northern Ireland that unionists reject. Oh, they're so crazy, these people. And he means as long as the protocol is in force, there is no government in Belfast, so blackmail as well. Aidan O'Kane doesn't like that. That's the biggest problem for businesses in the region, he says. Not the protocol, not the border bureaucracy, the political instability, the fact that they don't have a functioning government. O'Kane is a qualified electrical engineer in Northern Ireland. For many years, he has worked for Northern Ireland's largest IT group for Allstate. Since the beginning of this year, he has also been director of the London Chamber of Commerce, which represents around 400 companies in Greater Derry. He has seen for himself how important the peace process and the open border with Ireland are for the regional economy. Allstate, an American company and one of the largest employers in Northern Ireland, came there shortly after the Good Friday Agreement. They have around 900 highly qualified employees there in the northwest of Northern Ireland. They come from all over, including over Ireland. But today, the Allstate leadership is worried about the British region. The vice president came there from Chicago to visit Derry last week, says O'Kane. He told him very clearly that the group would not invest any further in Northern Ireland until these political uncertainties were resolved. And mind you, this is a company that knows Northern Ireland very well and has been active there for 25 years. When asked about the difficulties with the protocol, the director admits it's not perfect. Certainly, there are problems, especially when importing agricultural products and food. But those problems can't be fixed by breaking an international treaty, O'Kane says. We have to keep perspective here. The vast majority of businesses in Northern Ireland, not just in the northwest but overall, are doing very well with the protocol. In particular, trade with Ireland has really flourished. The reason lies precisely in the difficulties that arose at the beginning of the Brexit regime. In the first few days, many supply chains between Great Britain and Northern Ireland collapsed. As a result, some of the companies have reoriented their supply chains to Ireland. This has turned out to be working extremely well. In fact, statistics show that exports from Northern Ireland to Ireland increased by 60% in the first half of 2021. O'Kane is aware that this development will also bring the two parts of the island closer together politically. If the whole Irish economy prospers, then the question of reunification and whether businesses would be better off in a reunited Ireland comes up on the table. So Brexit has fueled the potential breakup of the UK, a paradoxical development given that it was the unionist parties in Northern Ireland that were the ones pushing for the exit from the EU. However, O'Kane is hardly surprised that the Conservative politicians in London also got their calculations completely wrong. Northern Ireland has always been neglected in the Brexit debates, he says. No one considered what leaving the EU would mean for the only land border between the UK and the EU. And in fact, he says bluntly, Westminster politicians don't understand this part of the world. That may be a bit of a generalization, but it's broadly true. As far as the Brexit agenda is concerned, they were just cannon fodder, as he puts it. As political instability and the stalemate in Belfast continue, O'Kane says more people will look to alternative solutions. And a reunited Ireland is one of those possibilities. On the top floor of the Rosemount factory, Liam McDade got up from his sofa during the visit. Then he was late for an appointment and had to say goodbye. He will have to work a few more hours on that Saturday when he was interviewed, but he doesn't seem to mind. He loves his job and is full of energy. He's particularly interested in the German market. Berlin is great, he says, because he has a new company. He has not yet been able to exploit the potential, but he is certain the Northern Ireland Protocol could be a huge asset for him. And I believe the same. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.